Welcome to Postmortem, the podcast where we dive into history's most enigmatic and chilling cases. I'm your host, Stacia, and today we journey back to the fog-laden streets of Victorian London to explore the enduring mystery of Jack the Ripper. In the autumn of 1888, London's East End was gripped by fear. A series of brutal murders occurred in the districts of Whitechapel, Spitalfields, Aldgate, and the city of London proper. The victims, all women, were subject to horrific mutilations, leaving the community and authorities in a state of panic. The moniker Jack the Ripper originated from a letter sent to the press, purportedly by the killer himself. This name has since become one of the history's most infamous unsolved cases. The press played a pivotal role in the Ripper's notoriety. For the first time, a serial killer's actions were chronicled daily, reaching a literate and engaged public. The extensive coverage not only informed, but also fueled widespread fear and speculation. Political groups seized upon the murders to advance their agendas, highlighting societal issues and calling for reform. This media frenzy transformed the Ripper from a mere criminal into a symbol of urban terror. The identity of Jack the Ripper remains one of the most debated topics in criminal history. Over the years, numerous suspects have been proposed, ranging from local butchers and surgeons to more sensational figures. One notable suspect was Aaron Kaminsky, a Polish immigrant residing in Whitechapel. Kaminsky was known to suffer from mental illness and was institutionalized multiple times. Some contemporary detectives considered him a prime suspect, but conclusive evidence was lacking. Now, let's take a look at the victims, whose tragic fates are all at the center of this dark narrative. There are 5 victims that have been generally accepted, but there are 13 more victims that are suspected victims. Let's take a deeper look into the 5 known victims. Warning: these are very graphic. Mary Ann Nichols was 43. She had fallen into poverty and was living in lodging houses, relying on sex work for survival. She was found on August 31st, 1888 at 3:40 a.m. at Bucks Row, which is now Durwood Street in Whitechapel. She was seen alive 1 hour before her body was discovered. Mary was discovered with her throat slashed twice and her vagina stabbed twice. She had deep abdominal cuts exposing her internal organs, but there was no attempt to conceal the body. Our second victim was Annie Chapman. She was 47 years old. Annie was struggling with alcoholism and poverty, and she had also lived in lodging houses and had turned to sex work. Annie was found murdered on September 8, 1888, at 6 a.m. near the steps to the back door of 29 Hanbury Street in Spitalfields. Her throat was deeply slashed twice, her abdomen cut open, and her intestines were placed on her right shoulder. Her uterus was removed, along with sections of her bladder and vagina. She was last seen at 5:30 a.m., standing outside of 29 Hanbury Street, in the company of a dark-haired man wearing a brown deerstalker hat and dark overcoat, and of the shabby genteel appearance. According to eyewitnesses, the man asked Annie, "Will you?" to which she replied, "Yes." Our third victim was Elizabeth Stride. She was originally from Sweden and had moved to London and worked as a prostitute. Elizabeth was found on the morning of September 30th, 1888, at 1 a.m. She was last seen in the company of a man on the morning of the 29th and early into the 30th. Each eyewitness gave differing descriptions. Some said he was fair-skinned, some said dark, some said he was shabby dressed, and some said well-dressed. Elizabeth was found with a single deep slash to the throat. There was no further mutilation, suggesting the killer was interrupted. The fourth victim was Catherine Eddowes. She was 46 years old. She had been arrested for drunkenness the night before her murder, and she was released shortly before her death. Catherine was found the same morning as Elizabeth Stride. Catherine was found in a corner of Mitre Square in the city of London. She was last seen in a narrow walkway with a fair-haired man of medium build with a shabby appearance. Her throat was deeply cut from ear to ear. There was facial mutilation, cuts to the nose, eyelids, and cheeks. Her abdomen was cut open and her intestines pulled out and placed over her right shoulder. Her kidney and most of her uterus was removed, and her earlobe had been cut off. A section of her apron was found at 2:55 a.m. There was a chalk inscription on the wall directly above the apron shred. It read, "The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing." It is unclear if the apron goes with the inscription. Our fifth known victim was Mary Jane Kelly. She was 25 years old. She was the youngest victim. She was Irish-born, and she lived in a private room unlike the other victims. Mary was found at 13 Miller's Court, Dorset Street in Spitalfield at 10:45 a.m. on November 9th, 1988. Her throat was slashed and she was nearly decapitated. Her face was completely mutilated and described as hacked beyond all recognition. Her abdomen was cut open and most organs were removed. Her heart was missing. Her kidneys, one breast, and her uterus were found under her head, and there was flesh and body parts scattered around the room. Investigators found an abundance of ash in the fireplace, suggesting the killer had burned several items to illuminate the room as he mutilated her. The escalating brutality in these murders suggests a killer growing more confident and depraved. The removal of organs pointed to some anatomical knowledge, leading many to believe the Ripper may have had medical training. Stride's murder was likely interrupted, prompting the killer to strike again this same night. During the Autumn of Terror, hundreds of letters were sent to the police and local press, claiming to be written by the Whitechapel fiend. Most of them were deemed to be fakes written by either newspapermen trying to start a story or fools trying to incite more terror. Many Ripperologists believe them all to be hoaxes. Other experts believe some are genuine, and this series of letters supposedly from the Ripper only deepened the mystery. The Dear Boss letter was received on September 27, 1888, at the Central News Agency. This letter was originally believed to be just another hoax, but 3 days later, the double murder of Stride and Eddowes made them reconsidered, especially once they learned a portion of Eddowes' earlobe was cut off, eerily reminiscent of a promise made within the letter. The police deemed the Dear Boss letter important enough to reproduce in newspapers and post bills of the time, hoping someone would recognize the handwriting. This letter read, "Dear Boss, I keep on hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me just yet. I have laughed when they look so clever and talk about being on the right track. That joke about leather apron gave me real fits. I am down on whores, and I shan't quit ripping them till I get buckled. Grand work the last job was. I gave the lady no time to squeal. How can they catch me now? I love my work and want to start again. You will soon hear of me with my funny little games. I saved some of the proper red stuff in a ginger beer bottle over the last job to write with, but it went thick like glue, and I can't use it. Red ink is fit enough, I hope. Ha ha. The next job I do, I shall clip the body's ear off and send to the police officers, just for jolly. Wouldn't you? Keep this letter till I do a bit more work, then give it out straight. My knife's so nice and sharp. I want to get to work right away if I get a chance. Good luck. Yours truly, Jack the Ripper." Don't mind me giving the trade name. P.S. Wasn't good enough to post this before I got all the red ink off my hands. Curse it. No luck yet. They say I'm a doctor now. Ha ha. Then came the saucy Jackie postcard. It was received on October 1st, 1888 at the Central News Agency. The handwriting is similar to that of the Dear Boss letter and makes direct reference to both this letter and the murders of the previous night. Those who believe it to be genuine argue the removal of Adele's ear, which was not taken away, nor mailed to the police like the Dear Boss letter stated it would be. But the fact that the postcard mentions the double event before it was described by the press both testifies to its authenticity. Others believe a hoaxer could have gleaned details of both the previous letter and the murders in the early morning paper of October 1st. This postcard read, "I was not codding, dear old boss, when I gave you the tip. You'll hear about Saucy Jackie's work tomorrow. Double event this time. Number one squealed a bit, couldn't finish straight off. Ha, not the time to get ears for police. Thanks for keeping last letter till I got to work again. Jack the Ripper." Just 15 days later, the most infamous letter, deemed the From Hell letter, was sent to George Lusk of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee on October 16, 1888. It was accompanied by a portion of human kidney preserved in wine, and this letter read, "From Hell, Mr. Lusk, sir. I sent you half the kidney I took from one woman and preserved it for you. The other piece I fried and ate. It was very nice. I may send you the bloody knife that took it out, if only you wait a while longer. Signed, Catch Me When You Can, Mr. Lusk." So were these letters genuine communications or a macabre hoax? Now we have to think about this time in history. There was no social media. So how did information get around in 1888? The newspaper. In the September 7th, 1888 edition of the London Times, an advertisement for a book was published, and it read as follows. "Letters from Hell, 14,000 from the Darfish, with an introduction by Dr. George MacDonald. Should be read by every thinking mind." As the London Times were very thorough in their coverage of the Whitechapel murders, and quite accurate when compared to their contemporaries, it could be hard to imagine that the Ripper would not be devouring each issue for its articles on the crimes and ensuing investigation. If he indeed were, then he would have come across the above advertisement from the book, Letters from Hell, an advertisement that no doubt appeared in other newspapers, along with reviews, as in the Morning Advertiser endorsement I just read. As the years have passed, the legend of Jack the Ripper has only grown, inspiring countless books, films, and theories. And in 2015, the Jack the Ripper Museum opened. In 2021, a fish and chip shop called Jack the Chipper. Despite numerous investigations and the advent of modern forensic techniques, his true identity remains elusive, cementing his place as one of history's most chilling enigmas. Over the years, numerous individuals have been suspected of being Jack the Ripper, but none have been conclusively identified. So let's examine some of the most notable suspects and their potential links to the crime. Our first suspect, Aaron Kazminski. He was a Polish immigrant and a resident of Whitechapel. Kazminski was a barber known to suffer from severe mental illness. He had been institutionalized multiple times for erratic behavior and auditory hallucinations. He had been identified by a witness, but the testimony was deemed unreliable. A forensic DNA analysis done in 2019 claimed to link Kazminski to evidence found on a victim's shawl, though the reliability of the study remains controversial. He had known a hatred for women, particularly prostitutes. But the weakness in this theory was that he was never convicted of any violent crimes, and the DNA evidence had been widely disputed due to potential contamination. The second suspect, Montague John Druitt. He was a well-educated barrister and a schoolteacher. Druitt came from a respectable family, but was rumored to have suffered from mental instability. He disappeared after the final Ripper murder, and his body was later found floating in the River Thames in December of 1888. Some police officials at the time considered him a strong suspect, suggesting he was Ripper and took his own life to escape the capture. But there were some weaknesses in the theory also. There was no direct evidence linking him to the murders, and his time of death suggests he could not have possibly been responsible for all the killings. Our third suspect, Dr. Thomas Neil Cream. He was a Scottish-Canadian doctor and had been convicted as a serial killer and was known for poisoning victims. He was executed in 1892, and legend has it that his last words were, "I am Jack," before being hanged. He had a history of targeting prostitutes and was known to have medical knowledge. But he was imprisoned in the U.S. during the time of the Ripper murders, making it highly unlikely he was the killer. The fourth suspect, Sir William Gull. He was a royal physician. Gull's name appears in some of the more sensational conspiracy theories, linking the murders to the British royal family. The royal conspiracy theory suggests that the murders were orchestrated to cover up an alleged illegitimate child of Prince Albert Victor. Gull supposedly carried out the murders to silence women who knew too much. But there is no historical evidence linking him to the crimes. The theory originated from a later fictional account rather than contemporary police investigations. And lastly, we have Francis Tabletti, an American quack doctor with a history of misogyny and fraudulent medical practices. He was in London at the time of the murders, and he had known a hatred for women, particularly prostitutes. He had fled England shortly after the killings, raising suspicion. But there was no direct evidence placing him at the crime scenes. His modus operandi differed from the gruesome mutilations of the Ripper murders. So was Jack the Ripper a disturbed local, a doctor with anatomical knowledge, or even someone protected by the highest ranks of society? The truth remains elusive, but each suspect offers a fascinating glimpse into the minds of those who could have been responsible. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Postmortem, where we took a dive into the shadowy past of Victorian London. The tale of Jack the Ripper serves as a grim reminder of the depths of human deprivation and the enduring quest for justice. If you would like to take a look at the letters, head on over to our Instagram. Comment your theories, and who do you think Jack the Ripper was? Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and stay vigilant.